Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle presented to you by FanDuel. We got our Power Rankings episode as Zach and I are going to go through our Power Rankings. We differ a little bit this week following week 7 at the top and the bottom of the Power Rankings and in the middle as well. So it should be a fun discussion to go through. Make sure you let us know in the comments where you would have teams, what your thoughts are on our rankings, and we will definitely get to all of that. Without further ado, I will turn it over to the man who is now a full-blown Hoosier with his takes, Zach Guggenheim.
This is the first win, I think, in Indiana's history. Top 5 team on the road. They did it by 10 points. They sacked Dante Moore 6 times. Hoosiers are legit, man. Like, so legit. I dare even to say way more legit than my preseason national championship pick in Penn State, who is not legit.
No, they're far from legit. In fact, Philip thinks they're 18th right now. Philip, don't worry, Wisconsin exists. So, sorry, Wisconsin fans, but that's where we're at right now. Jack thinks that Michigan State needs to be number 18. They're interesting. I mean, you have them one spot lower than me, so we'll get to them. But yeah, very interesting stuff. Alex has UCLA number 1. Hey, if you just take the past 2 games, sure.
I'll say this. I don't want to play UCLA right now.
No, nobody should want to play UCLA. Philip does not like Illinois over USC. Zach, we'll get to it. Philip. But your dissatisfaction is noted. No worries. So, Zach, let's just get into it because we try to keep this under a certain time frame. Let's do it. All right. So obviously the big one is, and we're just going to start from 1 and go down to 18 now, folks. Okay. So I have Ohio State number 1. I have Indiana number 2. Zach has it flip-flopped. He has Indiana number 1, Ohio State number 2. Zach, I'm a generous man, so I'll give you the floor first. What is it about Indiana that makes them number 1 for you rather than Ohio State, who has held the top spot ever since after week 1?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. One, Indiana crushed Illinois. So, like, the margin of victory is different. Indiana beat them by 53. Ohio State beat them by 18. Part of that was by design, right? Like, Ohio State, they got up 20-0, and they kind of just were like, okay, cool. That's not how Indiana did it. But do you know how hard it is to go into Autzen and not just beat Oregon? They actually dominated that game defensively in the second half. And really, Oregon had 1 offensive touchdown. 1 in their own stadium. And Indiana, like, this is the thing that impressed me most about Indiana. Fernando Mendoza throws a pick 6. Autzen goes crazy. The game is tied. The dude just has ice in his veins, goes down the field, scores, and then gets another field goal, 30-20. And then Dante Moore can't do anything because Indiana's defense was just swarming. Aiden Fisher, my gosh, that dude's awesome. Holy cow. So I think Ohio State and Indiana are the 2 best teams in the Big Ten. I have no problem with you having Ohio State 1. This is just maybe a little prisoner of the moment, but this was not 2 even teams in Autzen. Indiana was clearly better.
Yeah, they're 1A and 1B at this point for me. I have to put a 1 and a 2 there because it'd be wrong if I didn't. But to me, they're right there next to each other, and for different reasons. I'll get to those in a second because we do need to get to Max's super chat with the $20. Max, thank you for doing that. We greatly appreciate your contribution there. He says, "JR, you stood on your word and chose Indiana. Zach, you chose Indiana. I stand by my word that if Indiana won this game, I would give a super chat. We are all men of our word. Go Indiana, go Hoosiers, indeed." I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is that you can be really really excited about Indiana in the moment, but then once it comes to that big game, everybody has flashbacks of last year, and everybody was thinking. I mean, I can't tell you how many podcasts I listened to this week that said, "Well, does Indiana have a chance?" It's like, well, heck yeah, they have a chance. Right now, they look like one of the top 5 teams in the nation. Right now, if you look at resume, they're the number 1 team in the nation. Now, that
Yes.
does not go into my rankings, and I'll get into that here in a second, but if you look at just resume, if you look at just the teams they've beat and how they've beaten those teams, no other team has dominated this season the level of competition they have played against like Indiana has. And so for that reason, there is no acceptable answer for not having Indiana either number 1 or number 2 in the AP poll this next week. It has to be 1 or 2. If it's 3, if it's 4, if it's anything behind Miami, it's just plain wrong. It's just plain wrong. This Indiana team they swarm on defense. They have an ice cold veins, like you said, and Fernando Mendoza at quarterback. Elijah Surratt, he played phenomenal in this game.
Yes.
You have an offensive line. Everybody thought Khalil Benson was going to get destroyed. And I said it in the preview. I said, look, I'm kind of worried about this. I said, but you know what he does do well? He run blocks well. Zach, you know what Khalil Benson did well in this game?
Run block.
He shoved the dude in front of him out of his shoes every single time because Khalil Benson, I promise you, heard the stuff that people were saying on Twitter about him, and man, did he destroy some dudes in front of him this game. Indiana was more motivated, Indiana was the better team, and Indiana came in there with more to prove, and that's why they won in this game.
What was shocking? The sack advantage. It was 6-1.
Yeah.
Like everybody
little
was
old
wor-
Indiana, little old
like
Indiana. You know, they were saying they're such a little defensive line.
that's the crazy thing. They whipped Oregon on the line of scrimmage.
The best offensive line, I thought, in the Big Ten
Yeah.
up until this point.
They are for real. And I mean, I'll tell you right now, Indiana, Ohio State will be 1-2 in my AP poll tomorrow.
We thought Oregon and Ohio State would be undefeated going into the Big Ten championship game. You know, he's going to be undefeated now going into the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State, Indiana, because you look at those two schedules, I don't see a loss on those two schedules the rest of the way.
I say that, you know what? There weird stuff happens though. Weird stuff happens.
Yeah, evidence of
UCLA happens.
Yeah, UCLA might be the most difficult. I think somebody said that in the chat earlier. UCLA might be the most difficult game left on the schedule for Ohio State.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah. I mean, if UCLA say they had beat New Mexico and say they had beat UNLV, their only loss was Utah, first game of the year, and they're what would that make them? 4-2. If they're 4-2, Zach, where do you have them in your power rankings? They lose to Northwestern, but they beat Penn State, Michigan State, UNLV, New Mexico.
Oh man. I mean, honestly, probably ninth above Iowa.
Oh, I thought sixth.
Sixth. Well, because I think the issue, you can put Michigan. You could drop Michigan. So I'd say anywhere in that 6 to 9 range.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. I mean, overall, it's it kind of sucks for UCLA. You lost those first 4 games, but oh boy, what a crazy time. So here's my reasoning for having Ohio State 1 and Indiana 2. And honestly, if I see anybody with Indiana at number 1, I'm not gonna argue with them at all. I'm gonna say, okay, fine. like you have them number 1 right now, Zach. I'm not even gonna argue. Like my reasoning though that I'll go with is that originally I said, okay, Indiana is number 1. And I thought that for a long time. And then about halfway through that Michigan USC game, I said, one of the reasons why I feel like Indiana is number 1, obviously the way they play, resume, everything else. And I also said, why are we sticking to brand? Why are we sticking to years before this, right? Why are we sticking to all of that? And then I thought, well, you stick to that with Ohio State because, Zach, what is Ohio State? The most consistent program in college football history. Mm-hmm. Right now, we are living in an alternate universe of college football, right? I mean, some of the upsets that are happening, some of the things that are going on. The one team that is surviving that alternate universe right now is who? Ohio State, right? So I understand Probably a little bit of bias on my part. If it is, so be it. I've said on this show before, and I'll say it again. We all have bias. It you
Yep.
just got to recognize it rather than try to run away from it. But at this point, like I said, 1A, 1B, and I'm not going to argue who's 1A and who's
Yeah.
1B. So
I'll just say one thing that I am still concerned about with Ohio State. And I said it last week, and I'll say it again. We'll talk about it more tomorrow. Ohio State can't run block well. And I don't know if it's the
I don't think it's the run
concept.
blocking. I think it's the
Well,
running
yeah,
backs.
yeah, the running backs.
I
I
think the
shouldn't say the
offensive
running
line
backs.
is phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah, sorry. I misstated that. The run game is a concern at this point. And I agree. I think the left side of that line especially is blocking their tails off. But
Yeah.
Bo Jackson got hurt today. The backs. I mean, you just saw the difference between them and Indiana today in the way Indiana was running the ball. I mean, there's some problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Joe, I probably am biased. Like I said, I just acknowledge it, which is fine. You know, like I said, we all have bias. Nobody's completely biasless. If they say they are, they're lying, and they don't have
Yep.
What's that word? They don't know themselves.
Yep.
So, all right, let's move on. Oregon number 3. We both have them there. Like, I don't think there's really. You can't put Illinois ahead of them. You can't put USC ahead. I guess you could put USC ahead of them, but the hard part, at least for me, is I can't put USC above Illinois. Illinois just beat them 2 weeks ago, but you have them above Illinois.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
People were asking about it in the chat. I'm not going to argue if you have Illinois above USC. USC went on the road and lost one game to Illinois, but they just pounded Michigan. They're 5-1. I think they have one of the best offenses in the conference. Illinois is 4-2. Now they've lost to our top 2 teams in the power rankings. So okay, Illinois lost to the best 2 teams, but USC lost by a few on the road to Illinois. They only have one loss. I think it's negligible, right? So I think if USC lost tonight, they would clearly be behind Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, I thought of the travel stuff as well a little bit, right? But I do think to a certain extent, with how close it is, I don't know. I if it was 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, I think maybe I would put USC above Illinois. But I also am not gonna. I mean, Illinois just scored the most points on Ohio State than anybody scored on them this season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Illinois, they had some issues with turnovers, but they fought back in that game.
Yeah,
punter kneeled the ball,
that play call on 4th and goal to get their first touchdown was so sweet. Illinois was.
Yeah.
Did you see that? It was like they hand off to the fullback and then he pitched it. Or no, it was a handoff to Hank Beatty, and then he pitched it to fullback. It was such a sweet design.
Fantastic play design, and going to Beatty with it too, because there's so much focus on him. It's just a great design, great stuff. I think at this point, I understand having Illinois behind USC, but I think I still have to honor the head-to-head. Another head-to-head is Michigan and Nebraska. We both still have Michigan above Nebraska. I'm not going to ding Michigan too much for the loss. Now, I did not put Washington ahead of them like you did, just because I felt like Rutgers, one of the worst teams in the Big Ten so far this season. They're on the road, going coast to coast. To me, yes, Washington got the win. Good for them, and it looked really impressive. But it's not enough for me to move them over Nebraska, especially with Nebraska having the win they had today in the fashion that they did. And then Michigan, I can't ding that much because they lost to a good Big Ten team on the road.
Yeah, that's fair. And maybe I'm too high on Washington, but I continue to watch that offense evolve. And I know Rutgers defensively is not great, but you talked about Nebraska's big win against Maryland. who I think Maryland fans, I know it's been 2 really bad weeks and giving up leads late. This is a team that's going to keep getting better for Maryland, and I know we'll talk about them later,
I was gonna say
but
let's focus on Michigan,
yeah,
Nebraska, and Washington
but
first. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, but Washington, like, they came back from a 20-point deficit on the road at Maryland last week, and a lot of it was Damon Williams being amazing, that offense starting to click. I think you saw that again with Rutgers. I think their offense, their potential, I think has actually a higher ceiling than Nebraska, certainly higher than Michigan. And that's why I have it Washington, Michigan, Nebraska at this point.
Well, and certainly if they get some of their injured players back, right? I mean, Takario Davis came back, and that was huge for that secondary.
Yeah.
And it is hard because at the same time, I feel like I am punishing Washington so much for losing a game at home to the number one team in the nation. But if that offense had maybe performed better, it's one of those things where it's like Illinois put up 16 at home against Ohio State, Washington put up 6, right? So, I mean, obviously transitive property doesn't always work, but it's still just kind of the way those offenses performed a little bit. I am very high on Washington's offense as well, but I want to see it versus a better defense before
Yeah.
I feel super confident. Who have they beat? Colorado State, Rutgers, UC Davis, Washington State, good teams. Don't get me wrong. Like Washington State, they should have against Ole Miss. They're a pretty good team, right? But at the same time, I think I just need to see a bigger win. Like to me, Maryland on the road for Nebraska, bigger win. Nebraska taking
Well, but
down
they beat Washington beat Maryland the week before at Maryland.
at Maryland, right? But that was like a fourth quarter, like basically all in the fourth quarter, right? Like so, how much do I? I don't know.
Yeah.
And Nebraska just beat them, so it's kind of like a same thing. So I don't know. To me, I would not complain that Washington, Michigan, Nebraska, I would not complain at all with any way you have them ranked. As
Yeah.
long as Michigan is above Nebraska because of the recency of the loss, I wouldn't complain at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
No,
just kind of
that's
conundrum.
fair.
Iowa, number 9, I mean, they destroyed Wisconsin. Congrats.
It's hilarious that we have
Luke Fickle and them have quit, basically.
It's hilarious how we have a lot of variation, and we're like, Iowa's 9.
Yeah. We agree on Iowa. I mean, I wanted to move them up, but I was like, was blowing out Wisconsin, albeit on the road, but was blowing out Wisconsin was
No.
that impressive
No, it's an
enough to put you over Washington? Like,
it's that was more of an indictment of Wisconsin and Luke Fickle quitting.
yeah. I mean, props to Iowa. Mark Gronowski came back, looked
Yep.
good. I feel like Mark Gronowski was in the game too long personally, but yeah, that's just me. All right, next one we have kind of a smashing together of Northwestern, UCLA, Minnesota, Maryland. I have them Northwestern, UCLA, Minnesota, Maryland. You have them Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern, UCLA, almost completely backwards of what
Yeah.
I have. Tell me why you still have Maryland so high even after back-to-back losses at home.
Because of who they lost to, right? Like, I think Washington and Nebraska are top 25 caliber teams. They lost by 3 points to each, right? No, 4 points to Washington, 3 points to Nebraska. Really could have won both. And I think, like, it's going to be a tough game next week. Like Maryland, UCLA. I think it's at UCLA, so that's going to be a tough out for Maryland. But man, it's hard to put them lower at this point because on a neutral field, like seeing the young guys play and ball out, like Malik Washington, stud. Those defensive guys, studs. And I don't feel like they're losing because of incompetence. I feel like they're losing because they're young. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that they should be 10th, but I just look at them versus like Minnesota, for instance. I think Maryland beats Minnesota on a neutral field. I think they beat Northwestern on a neutral field. And I think UCLA would be a pick 'em at this point on a neutral field. Them in the Rose Bowl, I don't necessarily love that for Maryland, but at least on a neutral field, I'd probably pick Maryland over all three of them. And you gotta, I still feel like you gotta honor the fact that UCLA was 0-4 just a couple weeks ago. Like, so I think you can, if you want to put UCLA higher because of how they look now, I won't begrudge you for that. But personally, I'm like, they're still 2-4. You can't look past that.
Well, and I think that's the question, right? Are you power ranking based on what they were 3 weeks ago, or are you power ranking based off what they are now? And that's my whole reasoning for having Northwestern and UCLA so high is that, yes, they both just beat Penn State, who I have second last in my power rankings. But Penn State is still a team that has, a lot of talent. And Northwestern and UCLA, I thought UCLA was a bit of a fluke after that Penn State game, right? I thought, okay, great win, good for them. We're going to give them their praise, but I don't think this is sustainable. So much so that I picked Michigan State to win that game.
Yep,
what am I thinking? That's a terrible decision. But but at this point, like they are playing so freely on offense. Nico Iamaleava is coming into himself. Jerry Neuheisel seems to be trusting these players, and they're doing more creative things. They had a defensive tackle in there, lined up at wide receiver at one point, essentially. I mean, it was more like tight end, but still kind of like wide receiver. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, I think UCLA on a neutral field, meet in the middle between UCLA and Maryland. I think UCLA wins that game right now. 3 weeks ago, no. But right now, the way they're playing, I think they win that game.
Well, we'll see next week.
That we will.
Not on
Is that at UCLA?
Field. It's at UCLA.
Yeah. So that's going to be a tough trip for Maryland. But
Yep.
I do love this Maryland team. I do love their youth. To me, the run defense was a huge thing. And they got gashed today by Emmett Johnson.
That's true.
Who hasn't really gashed. I mean, he gashed Michigan State last week, but Michigan State has terrible run defense. And so that does give me some concern about Maryland. I loved the defense, and I thought the combination of Malik Washington and the defense was so good that I had them higher. But, yeah. Minnesota could be too low on Minnesota. You have them one spot higher than me. I get it. But I also don't want to give Minnesota too much credit because they were outplayed by Purdue for most of that game.
Yeah,
they came back in the fourth quarter, kind of like how Washington came back against Maryland. But I mean, I still have to give them credit, and that's one of the reasons why I moved them up over Maryland is because Maryland doesn't have an out of conference test. If they had an out of conference win that was better than some of their out of conference wins, maybe I'd still have them above them. But Minnesota at least tested themselves in the out of conference, and I've seen them against a better team. So
yeah. I think Minnesota is 4-2, and you have to take that into account. And their only losses are to Power 4 teams. Now, one of those Power 4 teams is Cal, and they're not very good. But they did. You have to give them credit too. They came back. You don't always play your A game every week, right? Minnesota did not play their A game, which we really shouldn't be shocked. They just got pummeled by Ohio State. I mean, it was not fair last week. And so they come back, they play 3 quarters of mediocre to bad football, and yet they score 2 touchdowns in the span of 30 seconds, and they pull that game out. So I don't disagree with you. I don't think they looked good tonight, but I think there is, at least in my mind, they're 4-2. They avoided the bad upset, which under PJ Fleck, he has not always done. So I give him a lot of credit for that.
All right. So the bottom 5, we kind of have them mashed up. We do agree on Wisconsin last place. Holy cow. Luke Fickell, biggest disaster hire in Big Ten football recent history.
Yes. Who gets fired first, Fickell or Franklin?
$56 million buyout, $30 million buyout, Fickell.
Who gets
who
who?
has a lower buyout? Yeah. I don't think Franklin. I don't think Franklin gets fired. I think Franklin leaves. His
Yeah,
press conference after he was basically asked like, "Are you confident in yourself as being the Penn State head coach?" Thank you, Steely Matt, shared the stream there on Twitter. If anybody else is on Twitter watching, if you would share the stream, we greatly appreciate that. It doesn't always pop up for every person that shares and reposts, so I'm sorry. But if you did repost, comment and let me know, and I'll thank you there as well. But his comment back was basically like, "Yeah, I do it for the players," and I was like, "So if you get a new job and you take all your players with you, like, because that happens today in college football, like,
mm,
so yeah,
mm, mm, mm.
I think James Franklin might be going someplace else next year on his own, maybe mutually agreed upon.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody else takes Fickle.
no.
I mean, I don't know who
Fickle's
takes Franklin at this point.
Fickle will go to. I think he might end up going to the Ohio State rehabilitation clinic for
Yeah,
coaches.
like the analyst role.
Yeah, he might
Philip
become an
says Franklin
analyst.
to Kent State. Zach, you'd be happy.
Kent State crushed UMass today.
Hey, they only lost by 44 to Oklahoma last week.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
hey, by the way, Texas beat Oklahoma today.
Oh boy.
Boosting the Ohio State resume.
And Mateer played in that game, didn't he?
Yeah.
I didn't
Apparently
actually
he did
watch it.
not. He did not look great. Apparently.
Well, yeah, he has a broken thumb. I
Yeah.
don't know who would have thought he would have looked great. That was such a stupid decision by them to play him.
Yeah. Well, it's Brent Venables as the head coach, so
Yeah.
it tracks.
3 interceptions, 0 touchdown passes, 202 yards. I mean, I'm literally box score watching here. I'll have to watch that game tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have to watch that game before tomorrow when we do our AP poll reaction stuff. That's typically what I do. I watch all the Big Ten games on Saturday, and then I watch like the SEC games and stuff like that on Monday. And do that. So, yeah. I don't know how you don't have Penn State second to last. This like we've pretty much been like, oh yeah, we agree, but yeah, I can see where you're different. This might be the one that I take the biggest stand on against you. Dude, this Penn State team has given up, man. Like, and Drew Aller is hurt now. Ethan Grunkmeyer, and I'm not trying to take any shots at Ethan Grunkmeyer. Like, he's gonna do his best. Actually, it might be better to have a different quarterback in there. I am of the opinion it might be better if Penn State plays all their backups because it doesn't look like the starters want to be in there right now. It doesn't look like start Katron Allen at running back, start Ethan Grunkmeyer, and put all the backups in because right now it does not. I'm not going to say any other guys' names, but it does not look like the Penn State starters want to play or are motivated to play.
Yeah, I mean, there's a culture issue. There's a leadership issue. So I hear you though. Did you see Michigan State play today?
I did, and I see what you're saying.
I think Penn State could land. Certainly, Penn State can land 17th or even 18th. But like it's hard to justify. It's hard to justify Michigan State or Purdue above anything.
Here's my justification:
16 and 17.
Michigan State wise, Power 4 win.
Yeah, that.
Penn State does not have a Power 4 win.
Yeah. They also played UCLA at home and lost 38-13, whereas Penn State won on the road and lost 42-37.
This is a newly born UCLA, Zach. I told you, this is a newly born UCLA.
But the newly born UCLA started with Penn State.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. What about Purdue though? I don't know. I don't think I agree on Purdue. This might be the biggest difference we have in our rankings.
Purdue's 2-4.
This is such a Big Ten podcast. We were arguing about the 18, 17, 16.
Purdue.
We were arguing between the 14th and the 17th spot in the Big Ten power rankings. Sorry, go ahead.
Purdue's 2-4. Like Penn State's 3-3. Penn State or Purdue. I mean, they only led by 10 against Southern Illinois.
Okay, but who looked better today? Purdue on the road or Michigan State at home?
I don't. Mm,
Because that's my thing. Is like, yes, Michigan State has a Power Four win, but boy, they look terrible today.
yeah. Okay, but Purdue, like Minnesota, kind of self imploded a bit today, and they still got the win over Purdue.
Yeah, their offense was kind of weird for like
Yeah,
3 quarters.
yeah. So I don't know. Like I hear what you're saying. I by the way, Northwestern's 4-2. Like with the win over Penn State, they're 2 wins away from bowl eligibility. So that's it's not actually. This is gonna sound bad. It's not the worst loss that they could have gotten, right? Which is sad. It was a pretty bad loss, but
Yeah.
I it's I will say this. I thought about it, which
I feel like with Penn State, it is so much so, and kind of Wisconsin too. It is so much so where you are supposed to be good. You are supposed to be able to get guys. You are supposed to have a good coach, and you're just not. Like it is
yeah,
so much underachieving. Maybe you're not actually the 17th, team
yeah,
in the Big Ten, but it's what it feels like, right?
yeah,
Because you've underachieved so much. There was so much hype going into the season, and you're just blah. That's all. That is
yeah.
all you are. You are
Well,
just blah.
there I mean, to your point, and I did not get a chance to watch the whole Penn State game today. But I mean, they Drew Aller gets hurt. Nobody's helping him to the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a season-ending injury,
That's what I'm saying, dude. They don't
and it's
care.
and they, yeah, I mean, that's I was concerned about that weeks ago. Like during the Oregon game, and even in the first few games, the body language, the way Drew Aller was interacting with his teammates, the way his teammates were responding to him, I almost feel like they arrived and expected that because they were doing quote unquote the same thing that Michigan and Ohio State did, right? Bring everybody back, get a $3 million defensive coordinator who is so freaking overrated.
Yeah, he does not have those guys prepared.
No, he's so overrated. And it's so clear from a year ago that he was not the main guy who was helping that defense get right for the playoffs. Like, sorry, I just got to say that because this defense, it stinks.
I do think that losing Tony Rojas was big, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that big. It shouldn't be that big that you're losing in this fashion to
No.
these teams.
But yeah, this team, it lacks leadership. It feels canned. Like the fact that Franklin, after losing to UCLA, did his whole shtick like 1-0, 1-0, Northwestern, Northwestern, Northwestern. I'm like, read the room,
But
man.
doesn't he have to though? Like,
No, he
doesn't it look like
doesn't.
he's quit if he doesn't do it?
No, there is a way to change and still like and be genuine and say not quit. Like he could have said, "Hey, I'm shifting how we're doing things because right now we need a reset." So like we're playing Northwestern this week. We're gonna give it our all. We really need to reset. We need to read, but like it's the same. Like it's so phony what he was doing.
I have a conspiracy theory.
Okay, conspire.
Okay. James Franklin was sent by the SEC from Vanderbilt to go and infiltrate the Big Ten from the inside out. Go create a top program in the Big Ten, but never win a big game. Always fall under expectations. Get it to the point where everybody thinks Penn State's gonna win it all. They're gonna win this game. They're gonna win the national championship, and they just completely flop. Don't beat a single Power Four team. Lose to the second best team at the time, the second best team in the Big Ten, and then you are going to lose to the two worst teams at the time in the Big Ten. It seems a little suspicious.
I don't think
You,
so.
you don't want to entertain it, do you?
No, no, no.
That's fine.
But I think Steely Matt and a couple people are saying this too in the chat. Tyler Warren was the whole offense. That's obvious now.
I think he was the whole big play part of the offense.
Yeah. I agree.
Like I think he was the confidence that he was the one that gave Drew Howard the confidence to kind of make some of the big plays.
Mm-hmm.
Cough, cough, Tyler Wolf. That's hilarious, John.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, I got a comment here from Max that I've been needing to bring up. He says, "Do you think programs wise up on what Signetti did and include NIL player clauses that you cannot follow former coaches to the next program?" Yes, I do. And I will tell you, Florida State came out with some of their NIL player clause stuff, and it is much more strict than what Kirk Signetti is doing out there. And right now, there are players that have been paid for their commitments to their schools. And if they don't commit, like if they don't sign with the school they've been committed to, all those months they were getting paid like $20,000 essentially to be committed, they have to pay back if they decide to sign with another team. So schools are wising up to this. I don't think the transfer portal is going to be as crazy. It's still going to be crazy, as crazy as it once was.
Mm-hmm. Although, like if a person chooses to decommit or transfer, some of the NIL would offset for sure. Like say they get a better deal. But yeah, you're still going to have to be on the hook for some of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. All right. Is there anything else in here? We went through all the power rankings. Did you notice anything else people were talking about that we want to focus on?
There's a lot of Penn State stuff, but we'll address that, I'd imagine, tomorrow.
Yeah. You know, Penn State guy did just mention in there. Franklin got divorced recently. You know who else got divorced recently?
No, who?
Steve Sarkisian.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah, but Steve Sarkisian won this weekend, so not
Yeah.
really exact comparison.
I didn't. Man, that's I did not know that about James Franklin. That's really sad.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Thanks for sharing that, Penn State guy. Britton says, how many Big Ten teams have quit? Penn State, Wisconsin, at least for now. You know, obviously things can change, I suppose. Michigan State might. I mean, they quit in that game against UCLA.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Childs was not in. Was he injured, or did they just take him out? Okay.
I believe he got injured.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd been kind of injured. So
yeah.
I mean, Rutgers hasn't quit. I think McManus is still. Purdue hasn't quit. Maryland hasn't quit. Maryland
I need
won't
to
quit. I think
after
it's better culture this season.
After Go for Forever was saying it's Athan Kelly.
Yes, Athan. Sorry,
Athan.
I haven't practiced it yet. I haven't drove to my job yet where I practice it. I kid you not. I have like an app that helps me pronounce names. I just have to add it.
There used to be a thing on YouTube that it would have like fake pronunciations of words. So like Chipotle, you see Chipotle on there, and it was like Sean Toodle, and you're like, that's not that word.
You know what my grandma used to call Chipotle?
No, what?
Chipotle.
Chipotle. We have 600 people listening to us about how we pronounce words.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll end here, Zach. Bring it back to UCLA or to Indiana one more time. Is this the best coaching job you have ever witnessed in your life? What Kirk Signetti has done in the past 1.5 years?
Without a shadow of a doubt. At least in terms of short, like acute, like Nick Saban, obviously what he did over tenure, like I don't think you can argue with. But in terms of like a turnaround and a program.
Alabama was a program that was winning national championships before it got there, though, right?
Yes, but I'm just saying, like, I think what he did over the long haul, I don't think you can. I'm talking about just for 20 years, like 20, 25 year run. But for a 2-year, no, like a 1.5, 2-year stint of just complete program overhaul, it is absolutely the best I've ever seen. It's insane. Like what he's done. And he's fighting against upstream. Like even now, like people are going with the narrative of, well, Oregon's not that good, which I don't care.
Your guys were the ones that made that comment there.
Well, they also then said in the tweet that they actually really like Indiana. So
Okay, I didn't see that. Okay,
yeah.
all right.
So I think college football nerds are actually very, very fair and they're very data driven. But I I don't really care how good Oregon is at this point because Indiana went in there and smacked them. And so I don't care if they're fifth. I don't care if they're 25th. Indiana showed that they're real and everybody's on notice now. Like, and you've got big time guys talking about it now. Guys like Ari Wasserman, guys like Bud Elliott.
Chris Sims on the halftime show of USC Michigan. He literally said, USC, now they're not in Indiana and Ohio State territory. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Never in my life did I think I would hear, well, they're not in Indiana and Ohio State territory talking about football. That either means Indiana became one of the best teams in the conference or Ohio State pulled a Penn State and went down as far as they possibly could. Sorry, Penn State fans. I mean, I think you guys know at this point, so I, not twisting the knife anymore. But holy cow, like just the fact that sentence can be stuttered anymore, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Max says,
sorry.
We'll get Zach Jr. Your boy Josh Pate still chose Oregon to take over. More your boy than my boy. I like some of Pate, but there's other stuff that annoys me with him. But yeah, I thought that was funny. Some people were he said something like, I have a right to change my pick, and somebody was like, you don't have the right to change it back anymore.
Nice.
All right, sorry, bring up Kent. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought maybe this is the last question, but I just did my power rankings and I had a hard time thinking about putting USC ahead of Oregon. Was that a waste of time? I don't think it's a waste of time.
When I first made this, I had USC above Oregon. When I first was like going through with my first draft.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, hold on. How much am I overhyping a win against Michigan here? Because Michigan doesn't have Justice Haynes, right? This is still a true freshman quarterback on the road, right?
Yep.
Like, you don't just have one road start and then you're fine after that. Yeah. So that was my thought, was like, yes, this is impressive what USC did. They're going to be elite in my performance ratings. But at the same time, it's also like, no Justice Haynes, no, veteran quarterback. You have to basically rely on your wide receivers. And if Michigan has to rely on their wide receivers, that's not going to go well.
Yeah. I'm going to say something that's going to sound like I am making light of Indiana's win, and I'm not meaning to.
Well, you have them number one right here. So anybody that would say that is
but so ever since the Penn State Oregon game, I think I said coming out of it, like, I'm not sure that win was about Oregon being good, but about Penn State not being as good as I thought they were. I am not sure. Like, I think if Oregon and USC played, or if Illinois and Oregon played, I'm not confident that Oregon wins that game.
Oregon and who?
USC or Oregon and Illinois.
Yeah, I'm not confident Oregon wins either. I'm pretty confident Oregon wins, but not 100% by any means. Yeah. I'm probably 60% confident Oregon wins. But I'd be the same way if Oregon were to face Illinois. I think if Oregon faced Illinois at home, they would win by more. Mm-hmm. A lot of it because of the travel and stuff. But if Oregon faced USC at home, I think USC would have a shot. Yeah. A lot of that's because of the travel.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just think I say that that's not to take away from what Indiana did today, because what Indiana deserves a lot of flowers. Some of the concerns I had about Oregon coming out of Penn State, I now have again. And a lot of people were saying, well, their offense has evolved. I actually thought they were lacking offensively today. And they're not as efficient as they had been in the past. So that's, again, so I just say, back to Kent's point, I can understand why you might wrestle with USC above Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally get it. All right, Zach, before we get out of here, let's look at the FanDuel Conference Championship odds for the Big Ten. Guess who's in first?
Ohio State.
Ohio State. Yes, they are minus 130. I believe they are the only team that is minus to win. Oh, no, Texas Tech is also minus to win the Big 12, and Miami is also minus to win the ACC. So currently, the SEC does not have anybody minus. Alabama is plus 150. Georgia's next at plus 490. But Ohio State minus 130. Next is Indiana plus 200, followed by Oregon plus 750. Michigan is still above USC, probably because of the strength of schedule there, but Michigan plus 1,700, USC plus 3,500. Any thoughts on the top five there, Zach?
And this is to win the Big Ten.
Win the Big Ten championship game. Yes.
And you said USC is 30 plus 3,500.
Plus 3,500.
What was Oregon's again?
Plus 750. But I don't think they make the Big Ten championship game.
I don't think so either.
Even if Ohio State gets a loss, I think you most likely have a tougher schedule for Ohio State. I like wins and losses in the Big Ten. I mean, maybe not because Indiana is on Oregon's.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon has a lot of. Well, here's the other thing.
Oregon does have a tougher one because they have Washington on there. They have USC on there. Yeah, that's probably why they're lower because it's just such a more difficult slate.
But you also have more landmines, right? Like if you got SC, you end with SC and at Washington.
Yeah, that's tough.
Like that's going to be a tough. I'll say this. I think. Yeah, I think it's going to be tough for Oregon to get into the game. I mean, Ohio State could lose. I mean, we've been saying like we don't trust Ohio State against Michigan, but
I guess that would be your biggest chance, right? If Ohio State loses to Michigan again.
Yeah, or UCLA.
Yeah.
No, which is kind of insane when it's like, is Penn State going to be their biggest hurdle before Michigan? No, it might be UCLA.
It's true.
That's crazy.
Well, if you'd like to go bet on the top five there, you can go on over to FanDuel and do that. The other teams that are behind them are in the order Washington, Nebraska, Iowa, Maryland, Minnesota, Illinois, UCLA. You told me that UCLA and Illinois were going to be tied with Big Ten championship odds at some point. I would have said you were lying. But that's how it goes. So, Zach, anything else before we get out of here?
No, this is a good week.
Yes, good week indeed. I will have a performance tiers video coming out tomorrow morning, podcast as well. If not tonight, one of the two. We'll see when I get it done, and you guys can check that out. And then Zach and I will be back tomorrow night. We'll talk more about these actual games and not just like the rankings and stuff like that. Tomorrow night, we're gonna do panic meter for every team tomorrow night. What Big Ten teams have the most to be panicked about? Spoiler, Wisconsin, very high. Penn State, very high. Yeah. So. All right. Zach, thanks for being here. Everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. We'll see you Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time live. And Doreen has reposted the stream. We appreciate you doing that, Doreen, as always. We'll get you out of here and see you tomorrow night. Have a good one, everybody. See you later.